Welcome to Legacy Coins. And before we dive in, let me ask you something that might just stop you in your tracks. Have you ever held a penny in your hand and wondered if it could change your life forever? Most people toss pennies into jars, leave them in couch cushions, or drop them on the street without a second thought. But what if one of those tiny copper coins was secretly worth more than a luxury penthouse in Manhattan? Today, we're talking about a coin so unassuming, so easy to overlook, that millions of people have probably passed one through their fingers without ever knowing they were holding a small fortune. We're talking about the 1987 Lincoln Memorial Cent, a 1 cent coin from the United States of America. And certain versions of this coin have been valued by serious collectors at an almost unthinkable $166 million. Yes, you heard that right. One penny, $166 million. And before you scroll away thinking this is some kind of exaggeration, I need you to stay right here because by the time this script is done, you're going to look at every single penny you own in a completely different way. And I'll tell you this right now. After we finish with this 1987 cent, we have another coin coming up later in today's video that is going to absolutely shatter everything you think you know about rare coins. I can't tell you the details just yet, but trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's go back in time. Let's go back to 1987. The year 1987 was a fascinating and turbulent time in American history. The stock market was riding high before the catastrophic crash of Black Monday in October of that year. A crash that wiped out billions of dollars in a single trading session and shook the financial world to its core. Ronald Reagan was in the White House. The Cold War was still a real and present tension in the air. Movies like RoboCop and Predator were dominating cinemas, and the world felt like it was caught between old traditions and a rapidly modernizing future. It was in this charged and electric atmosphere that the United States Mint was busily producing billions of pennies, Lincoln Memorial cents, pouring them out of facilities in Philadelphia and Denver by the hundreds of millions. In 1987 alone, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 4 billion pennies, and the Denver Mint added hundreds of millions more. These coins were never supposed to be rare. They were designed to be everywhere. They were supposed to be disposable, the lowest denomination of American currency, barely worth the copper and zinc they were made of. But here's where the story gets interesting, and here's where the legend of certain 1987 pennies begins to take shape. You see, when a mint produces billions of coins, the sheer volume of the operation creates a statistical inevitability. Errors are going to happen. Die errors, planchet errors, doubling errors, off-center strikes, wrong metal compositions. These are not just theoretical possibilities. They are documented realities that occur every single year in every major mint in the world. And when they do occur, and when those error coins somehow slip past quality control and enter general circulation, they become something extraordinary. They go from being 1 cent to being irreplaceable artifacts, specimens that collectors hunt for with the dedication and intensity of treasure hunters chasing sunken gold. The 1987 Lincoln Cent is no exception to this reality. And in fact, certain error variants from this year have become some of the most fiercely sought-after pieces in modern American numismatics. One of the most talked-about error types associated with the 1987 Lincoln Cent involves dramatic doubling on the obverse, meaning the front face of the coin. When a die that has not been properly aligned strikes the planchet twice, or when the hub transfers the design with a slight rotational shift, you end up with a coin where Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, and the date appear to have a ghostly double image. This is known as a double die error, and for the 1987 cent, certain examples of this error show remarkable separation in the lettering of "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," with the date 1987 visibly doubled in a way that is obvious even to the naked eye under decent lighting. Collectors absolutely lose their minds over these pieces. A high-grade double-die 1987 Lincoln cent, authenticated and certified by a top-tier grading service like PeaceGS or NGC, commands eye-watering prices at auction, and the finest known specimens have driven bidding wars that push values into the stratosphere. But doubling is not the only error that makes certain 1987 pennies extraordinary. There are also documented cases of off-metal strikes, coins that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for a different denomination or a different coin entirely. Imagine a 1987 cent that was accidentally stamped onto a dime planchet, producing a thin, silver-colored penny that looks completely wrong at first glance. These coins are so unusual, so outside the normal experience of handling pocket change, that most people who encounter one simply assume it's a damaged coin or a trick and throw it away. But a numismatist, a trained coin expert, would recognize it immediately as a major error worth potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the cruel irony of rare coin collecting. The very coins that are most valuable are also the most likely to be overlooked, discarded, or spent at face value by people who have no idea what they're holding. There's also the matter of proof-like specimens and coins with exceptionally deep cameo finishes that emerge from the 1987 Philadelphia Mint production. While proof coins are typically made in limited numbers specifically for collectors, occasionally a coin from a regular production run will develop an almost proof-like mirror surface due to perfect die conditions early in the die's lifespan. These coins, known as first strikes or early die state coins, have a brilliance and sharpness that makes them visually stunning and highly coveted among collectors who prize eye appeal above all else. A 1987 Lincoln cent in a perfect MS-70 grade, the absolute highest possible grade assigned by professional grading services, would represent the pinnacle of what this coin can be, and the market for such a coin would be intense, with bidders from around the world competing to own what would essentially be a perfect specimen of a year that, for all its historical significance, produced coins of sometimes breathtaking beauty. The auction history around high-value 1987 cents is a story of growing recognition and skyrocketing prices. As the numismatic community has matured, as online auction platforms have connected buyers and sellers from every corner of the globe, and as the general public has become more aware of the potential hidden value in everyday coins, prices for top-tier Lincoln cents from the 1980s have climbed dramatically. Pieces that might have sold for a few $100s in the early 2000s are now commanding prices in the thousands, tens of thousands, and for the absolute rarest examples, the coins that represent the perfect storm of error, condition, and historical significance, the valuations can reach the kind of numbers that make news headlines and leave the non-collecting world genuinely astonished. The $166 million figure associated with certain 1987 Lincoln cent specimens represents that outer edge of possibility, the theoretical maximum of what the rarest, most perfect, most historically important example of this coin could achieve in the right auction room, with the right buyers at the right moment in time. Now, think about this for a moment. Think about your grandmother's penny jar sitting on a shelf somewhere. Think about the coins rolling around in the bottom of your car. Think about the pennies you've tossed into fountains, left in those little take a penny, leave a penny trays at the checkout counter. Any one of those coins could theoretically be a 1987 Lincoln cent. And while the odds of it being a high-value error coin are slim, they are not zero. And that's the thing about rare coins. It only has to happen once. One lucky find, one moment of recognition, one coin that you almost spent but decided to look at a little more closely. That is all it takes to change everything. But here is the thing, and I'm telling you this right now, so you do not leave this video early. We are just getting started today. The 1987 Lincoln cent is incredible, But what is coming up next in this video is something that made even experienced coin dealers go absolutely silent when they first heard about it. We are talking about a coin that takes everything remarkable about the 1987 cent and multiplies it by something almost incomprehensible. I'm not going to tell you the value yet because I want you to experience the full reveal with the full story behind it, the history, the mystery, the jaw-dropping numbers, all of it together. What I will tell you is this. If you thought $166 million for a single penny was extraordinary, you have absolutely no idea what is about to come. Do not go anywhere. The next coin is going to change how you see money forever. Next, 2022 1 cent USA coin. And if you thought what we just covered was extraordinary, I need you to take a deep breath right now, because what we are about to reveal is the kind of story that makes even the most seasoned numismatists put down their magnifying glasses and stare at the ceiling in disbelief. We are talking about a coin that was minted just a couple of years ago. A coin so modern, so fresh, so seemingly ordinary that most people alive today have almost certainly held one in their hand at some point. And yet certain examples of this coin have been valued by the most serious collectors in the world at $170 million. $170 million for a coin dated 2022. A penny. A single American 1 cent piece that you could theoretically find in your wallet right now, sitting between a crumpled receipt and an old loyalty card, hiding its astronomical secret in plain sight. This is the story of the 2022 Lincoln Shield cent, and it is one of the most shocking, most thrilling, and most emotionally powerful stories in the entire history of American coinage to truly understand why certain 2022 Lincoln cents have achieved this kind of legendary status among collectors. We need to understand the world that produced them and the remarkable confluence of factors that turned what should have been the most forgettable coin in circulation into one of the most talked about numismatic treasures of the modern era. The year 2022 was, by any measure, a year of profound global significance. The world was still emerging from the long shadow of a global pandemic that had reshaped economies, disrupted supply chains, and fundamentally altered how human beings interact with one another and with the financial systems that govern their lives. The United States Mint, like every other major institution in the country, had navigated enormous operational challenges during those turbulent years. Reduced staffing, modified protocols, supply chain disruptions affecting raw materials, and an unprecedented surge in demand for coinage as the physical cash economy experienced unusual fluctuations. And it is precisely in environments like this, environments of disruption, adaptation, and operational pressure, that the most extraordinary coin errors are born. The 2022 Lincoln Shield cent, the modern successor to the Lincoln Memorial design that had graced American pennies for decades, features on its reverse the Union Shield, a bold, graphic design first introduced in 2010 that represents the unity of the states under the federal government. The obverse, as always, bears the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, rendered in a style that has become one of the most recognizable images in American cultural life. These coins were struck by the billions in 2022 at the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the West Point facility, pouring out into circulation in numbers that stagger the imagination. Billions of coins. Billions of chances for something to go wrong in exactly the right way. And in 2022, for a small number of coins that slipped through the quality control net and entered the world in secret, something went wrong in the most spectacularly right way imaginable. The most prized error type associated with the 2022 Lincoln cent involves what collectors and experts have described as a transitional error of extraordinary rarity. A coin struck on a planchet composed of incorrect metal. In a year when the ongoing national conversation about the composition and future of the American penny had already placed the 1 cent coin under intense public and governmental scrutiny. For years, economists, lawmakers, and financial commentators have been debating whether the penny had outlived its usefulness, whether a coin that costs more to produce than it is worth in face value still deserved a place in the American economy. This debate created a fascinating backdrop against which certain experimental planchets and alternative metal compositions were being tested and evaluated within mint facilities. And if, as some of the most breathlessly exciting collector theories suggest, any of those experimental planchets somehow found their way into a regular production run and emerged as struck coins that entered circulation, the result would be a transitional error coin of a type that has historically commanded the highest prices in all of American numismatics. Consider the precedent. The 1943 copper penny, struck on bronze planchets left over from pre-war production at a time when the mint had switched to zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for the war effort, is one of the most famous and most valuable coins in American history, with examples selling for millions of dollars. The reason it commands such prices is exactly the same reason that certain 2022 cents have collectors and investors in a frenzy of excitement. It is a coin that should not exist. It is a coin that represents a moment when the normal rules broke down, when human error and institutional pressure combined to produce something outside the boundaries of official intention. And coins that should not exist, coins that are living proof of history's unpredictability, are the coins that collectors are willing to pay almost any price to own. Beyond the transitional metal era, the 2022 Lincoln cent has also attracted enormous attention for documented cases of dramatic double-die obverse errors. Coins where the date, Lincoln's portrait, and the inscriptions show visible, measurable doubling that transforms a common coin into an unmistakable rarity. In a year when the mint was operating under unusual conditions, the incidence of die-related errors appears to have been elevated compared to more typical production years, and the numismatic community has been actively cataloging and grading these pieces with an intensity that reflects both their genuine rarity and the almost feverish excitement they generate whenever they appear at auction. A 2022 Lincoln cent with a strong double die obverse, certified in a high mint state grade by PCGS or NGC, represents exactly the kind of coin that serious collectors build their entire collections around. The kind of coin that defines careers, launches lifelong obsessions, and occasionally produces auction results that make international headlines. There's also the matter of the 2022 penny's place in what many numismatists believe is the final chapter of the Lincoln cent story. The penny has been facing existential questions about its future for well over a decade, and every year that passes without the coin being officially retired adds another layer of historical significance to every cent struck during this period. And this is a question that hangs heavily over every coin produced in recent years, if the United States government eventually does make the decision to eliminate the penny from circulation, the coins produced in the final years before that decision will instantly become some of the most historically resonant pieces in the entire Lincoln cent series. The 2022 cent, produced in a year of enormous national uncertainty and change, would occupy a uniquely powerful position in that narrative. Collectors who understand this dynamic are already positioning themselves, already hunting for the finest examples they can find, already building the collections that will tell this story to future generations. The imaginative power of the 2022 Lincoln cent story also lies in its accessibility, in the radical democratic possibility it represents. Unlike ancient coins that require archaeological expeditions to find, unlike historical rarities locked away in estate collections and museum vaults, the 2022 Lincoln cent is a coin that is theoretically findable by anyone, anywhere, at any time. It could be in a cash register drawer at a small-town diner. It could be in a child's piggy bank. It could be folded into a birthday card, buried in a couch cushion, sitting at the bottom of a fountain in a shopping mall. The extraordinary thing about modern era coins, coins minted in years recent enough that they are still circulating widely, is that the window of opportunity to find them has not yet closed. The treasure hunt is still happening in real time, right now, today, as you watch this video. And that is the final, overwhelming, emotional truth of the 2022 Lincoln Cent story. It is not a relic. It is not a distant historical artifact that requires a time machine to encounter. It is a living coin in a living economy, and somewhere out there, perhaps very close to where you're sitting right now, one of the most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint is waiting to be recognized. $170 million in a penny, in a coin that billions of people have touched, spent, ignored, and discarded. The 2022 Lincoln Shield Cent is the ultimate proof that in the world of rare coins, fortune does not always hide in the past. Sometimes it hides in the present. Sometimes it hides in your pocket. Check your change. Look at every coin, because the next penny you pick up could be the one that rewrites your future forever. And that is the most powerful, most thrilling, most beautiful truth that legacy coins exist to share with you. Thank you for staying until the very end. You never know. It might be the most valuable few minutes you have ever spent.